Now, lifeadministration.com presents the Life Administration Podcast. Here are your hosts, Leslie Loftus and Ryan Taylor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Life Administration. My name is Ryan Taylor, and with me, as always,
Leslie Loftus. Hello, everyone.
Hello. I'm amped up right now.
You are?
Just had an amazing lesson.
Yeah, he and Parker had a good lesson. Well, he taught her, cheat sheet, scales.
Scales, cheat sheet.
Scales.
So,
she's very excited about this.
Yes, well, because Parker has a bass teacher, too, and I play electric bass. I don't play stand-up bass.
Right.
Which means the mechanics
but the theories
is different. However, the theory is the same.
Yes.
Right? Like, you put your finger here, and this is what the note that plays, right? So that sort of thing. So, it's one of the best parts of the job is when a student or I have this problem, and I don't have the tools to fix the problem or to solve the problem. And you can just go like, I have the tool in spades, and I have a really easy way to teach it to you. And it's right here. And then to just see the student just go, whoa, like this is really helpful. And just to acknowledge like, okay, this is like, that was a big moment.
Yeah.
Like she'll remember that forever. As long as she plays music, that is figuring out the degrees of scales in major and minor is like, it's a must-have skill, and she has it forever now. Right. You just like no memorizing, no anything.
And like you said, unlike most skills, and even some of the ones that we teach around here, this one has no exceptions. No. Like it's always, there's no I before E except after C. There's no after C part.
No, it's like you want to figure out the major scale, this is the formula. You want to figure out the minor scale, this is the formula. You want to figure out the pentatonic scale, this is the formula. Like there's just no... That's just awesome. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just because we're English speakers. There's so many things that I'm like, I don't know if I know of any rules without exceptions. Yeah, no, luckily in music, there are some rules that are pretty hard and fast,
That's good.
So that was good. I'm feeling pretty amped up after our last recording. Anything new happened for you in the past hour and a half?
Yeah, school frustration, helping a child with just, it kind of works for life administration. Silly, you submitted it in the wrong format, so you get a 0.
Which is like really harsh.
I'm totally behind, you didn't read the instructions or whatever, or you didn't submit it the way I wanted it to, so I'm taking off points. But the child did the assignment and turned it in on time. They just turned it in paper instead of on Google Docs.
Yeah. And it's funny because like 2 years ago,
it was the opposite.
You would have never submitted something on Google Docs, or very rarely, I guess. Maybe there's some instances, but.
And that's the other thing that frustrates me is we're in a bit of a transition here. So can we have a little bit of leeway? No.
Just a modicum of grace? Just a sprinkling of it, maybe?
No,
perhaps?
Apparently not.
I just realized that I left my phone and my other laptop right in the middle of the table.
Oh, lovely. In the screenshot and everything.
Yeah, that's nice. So if anyone's wondering where the old laptop went, it's still here. It still lives with us. It just does different jobs now. It's been downgraded. No, that's not true. We're celebrating its strengths. We're celebrating its strengths.
You're the tech guy.
Yep.
This is the one I get.
Yeah,
so.
I really wish I had like a bin or a bag to put this in, some like adequate storage to put it in, which oddly enough is the title of our episode today.
Excellent segue.
I wasn't going to say anything.
But I got to ruin it and I've got to make it awkward. Yeah, there we go.
Wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible. What, you need a bag to carry it back and forth?
Hello?
You have one. Does it not fit in there?
I have in that bag over there.
This is giant. So
right. So I have this. I have an external monitor for when I'm editing. So I have another monitor in that bag right now.
And for those of you who are listening and we're not watching, he has a giant laptop.
It's very big, very distracting, as I was told. And then I have to put the MacBook in there. So that's like 3 computers in there. And oh, by the way, like they all need power supplies. They all, all of the junk that goes with it.
That come with it.
So the bag does actually work perfectly. It's an amazing bag. My wife, I was going to get a bag, and Lauren's like, no, you can't buy things. And she's right. Right. So like I've been sitting up trying to buy glasses for a long time, and I just can't I just let her pick. Like, hey, you're the one to look at them.
Is this your cheap thing that you just can't actually pay?
I mean, there's definitely a piece of that.
Yeah, because, like glasses and like a good bag, like none of that stuff is like cheap.
Right. So she's like.
So you just can't physically, I was going to say write the check, but who writes checks anymore? Yeah.
She says, hey, these computers and this monitor, the combined value of just these pieces alone in your bag is like $5,000.
Right. Exactly.
You need to have a bag that is not $4.
Right.
And that can fit all the stuff and protect
and
it.
And not going to rip and let it fall out. And
so anyway, it's a monster bag, but
it's a great backpack.
I mean, I carry almost an entire studio in that bag for like editing and stuff like that.
He leaves the mics and stuff here. Yeah. We've got
mics
it set
and
up.
lights, but anything that's like small.
Well, I told you, Jim actually ran a Bible study. He's doing early history of the church at our church. He and two other people are doing. And so he was recording from here and
love it.
Yeah, cool.
Love it. Multi-purpose.
So we've got it all set up now.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So storage.
Patrick's recorded.
Patrick has recorded.
He's recorded science fair or some science.
The best looking project you ever seen. I bet that teacher must have been like, the quality on this thing. So storage. We're back. We're re-earthing storage.
Right.
Unearthing.
Re-earthing. That was good.
Yeah.
How do you re-earth something? Okay. Anyway, we'll just leave it there.
That's in segment 3.
When we talked about storage of anything, closets, kitchens, we've talked a lot about 1, 2, and 3 motion storage. So the stuff that you use, and I'm going to repeat it again because it's an excellent rule. Stuff that you use more than once a day or more needs 1 motion storage, which means I open the drawer and I reach in and I pull out the thing. I just have to do 1 motion to get to it. The stuff that I use 2 or 3 times a week, that can get 2 motion storage. So, I have to open the drawer and I have to move something out of the way before I can get it out, right? 3 motion storage is the stuff that, you use once a month or so. Okay. Yeah. So you can, you need to get a step ladder out and then get up into the cabinet to get it out. So you have to do 3 things to get it. Today, this kind of storage, we're talking about 3 motion plus kind of storage. This is the stuff that this is your long-term storage kind of stuff.
So this you would consider this like Christmas decorations.
Christmas decorations are the classic example.
Can I just say one thing really quickly? Mm-hmm. We have covered a lot in our time podcasting life administration. I will tell you that this rule is the rule that sticks out for me more than anything
like the scales?
Else. Yes.
Yeah, it's in your head. It helps a ton.
Yeah, and I very like Lauren, it's in our language now, like in our house. Like, okay, yeah, that's 1 motion. That's good. You know what I mean? Especially when we're trying to figure out, like flour, for example, is like, that's not like a daily thing, but it, let's make that 2 motion.
And that's a perfect example because some households, like if you don't bake a lot, flour is a 2 motion storage item, right? Because you use it maybe once or twice a week when you're cooking.
Yeah.
This house has 3 bakers in it. My flour is 1 motion storage, prime real estate placement in the pantry because we get it out sometimes 2 and 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Right. And that goes for the bread flour, blood flour, wheat flour, cake flour, all-purpose flour, unbleached. We got all the flowers. So
we got a bouquet of flowers.
Right, exactly. We've got a bouquet of flowers. I like it. So the cake flour has 2 motion storage because we don't use it as much.
Yeah.
The almond flour has 2 motion storage because we don't use it as much. But it's a perfect example of how different families might do it different way. But yeah, that's the other thing that you can add. Not only the 1 motion storage things for the stuff that you use all the time, but 1 motion prime center placement real estate.
Yeah.
That's the for righties, the drawer to the right of your range. Mm-hmm. That's 1 motion storage prime placement.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I would encourage everyone that if you haven't gone through this drill yet, this is like a must-have.
It's a great drill.
This is a must-have. It doesn't take because you can set it up as you're going. Like a lot of the things that we talk about.
And we probably covered it most in the Kitchen 101, like the first kitchen episode is when we really discussed it and got into it. And then when we hit that episode, when we start streaming on Twitch soon, we'll talk through it again. So
yeah. And I would also say if you're trying to incorporate 1, 2, 3 motion storage, or now 3+ motion storage, is when you're trying to organize it, it can be a little daunting, but we have now, Lauren and I put the rule in, is like you don't leave a room without something in your hand. So like organize the storage, right? This is going to be let's say there's a remote control car that Hallie has in the bedroom, right? It's like, dude, if you leave the bedroom and that car is on the floor, like shame on you, right? You're always leaving with something. It's like you're constantly, it's like,
on the ship, we called it round trip. I worked as a steward on a ship a long time ago, and we called it round tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were already going to the back, to the stern to take this thing, well, then if that thing also needed to go and if you could carry it, you took
need to
it.
take it.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, round trip it. And then also when you're coming back, don't come back empty-handed. If there's anything back there that you need in the stern storage that you need for the dining room, bring it back to the dining room with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just like these little things that will save. Like that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but over the course of the day, the week, the month, the year saves an incredible amount of time. So just be mindful of that as we're going through this and you're trying to get it organized.
So that's our little storage reprimer. But today we're talking about the long-term stuff.
3+, baby.
Right. The 3+s, you get into it once, maybe twice a year.
Yes.
Okay. Or you hardly get into it at all and you've gotten a storage facility for it. Let's go.
Don't get me there, man.
You have one?
No, never.
Yeah, no, I'm guilty on that one. Anyway, that's segment 2. We'll get to that one. First of all, 3+ motion storage at home.
Yes.
That was harder to say than I thought. Okay. So this is like we said, Christmas decorations is the typical example, but some other typical items are family heirlooms. Stuff that you're going to keep, but maybe it's photos, maybe it's letters. Oh goodness gracious! It's a 30-second commercial break. Jim his dad had gotten some letters that some of the family had written to each other during the Civil War or whatever. And anyway, it was in a ratty box, and so my mother-in-law long ago threw it out during a move. Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about. If we need to store this stuff properly. An old moldy cardboard box, 1, doesn't provide much protection, and 2, can make your family heirlooms look like they're just junk. Yeah, perhaps not. Objects, certain linens, like maybe you have your down comforter that you only pull out in November, December, or you switch it out once a year, that sort of thing. Those kind of things can be in your long-term storage. Seasonal decorations are the classic. Then there's seldom used tools. Like around here, my husband brews beer, but he does it about twice a year. Okay. So, we've got all the beer brewing supplies and ingredients, but they don't need prime placement. They don't even need 3 motion storage. And also because they're big and bulky. So for instance, we have a big cabinet that's above our refrigerator in the kitchen. That requires a 3-step stool for me to reach. But that's where all the beer brewing supplies are because I get them. There you go. And Jim's much taller than I am, but he or I get them down once a year.
Yeah.
And then we clean them up and then we put them back. So, but yeah, you have to get out the actual proper ladder. And you also probably need 2 people to help you get it out. But if you're only using it maybe once a year, stick it up above your fridge.
Yeah.
Anyway,
for sure.
Recreational equipment, let's say you go on an annual camping trip. Well, you need to keep the camping stuff. You don't want to buy new camping stuff every year, but does not need prime placement in your garage or attic or whatever. Right. It needs to have a high placement. You can get out the ladder for the one time of the year that you need to pull it out.
Yeah.
Right. So the other thing about long-term storage is you have to think through what it actually needs. Okay. And here, a lot of times we're talking about climate.
Yes.
Right. So for instance, here in Texas, when it gets really, really hot, storing stuff in the attic means, you can cook stuff. Turns out, I've had many a friend store their grandmother's crystal or, the crystal that they inherited from their mom. They got their own crystal, but then they inherited some and then they put it up in the attic until they had time to. It doesn't take too many summer before it turns into sand. Okay. Because it just gets too hot. So if you live in a really cold place, if you live in a really damp place, there's all sorts. If you don't have temperature control for your storage, then it needs to be stuff that can handle the full swings of weather.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So what does it need? Does it need temp control? Is it, if we're talking heirloom linens or any sort of linens, bug control, you don't want the moths to get it or the silverfish. Is it all some awkward space, or does it need some awkward space or shape or something like that? Christmas trees, artificial Christmas trees come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
They take up, even once you've taken the pieces down and you've shoved them into the bag that they're supposed to be stored in, they take up a lot of space, and depending on it can be kind of awkward space.
Yeah.
The beer stuff. It's kind of awkward to store.
It's super awkward.
Did you brew too?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There you go. It's super awkward to store.
So I brewed beer. I mean, this is worth it. This is worth the commercial. I brewed beer when I lived in Minnesota very often. It's cold outside.
Right,
Not really,
exactly.
right? So a lot to do. And something you could do in your house. And if it went well, you got 5 gallons of beer for like whatever it was. If you already had the supplies, $10, $15, $20.
And frankly, the supplies aren't that expensive.
No.
It is an investment up front to get the stuff, but none of it's crazy expensive.
No. You can get a really nice kit under $200,
right?
And be off to the races and make 3 to 4 batches of beer and be in the positive.
Right.
Anyway, well, one of my batches got contaminated. It was a chocolate stout. And
by the way, chocolate stout does not actually taste like chocolate. It's the color, but okay.
Yep. Well,
sorry, I got burned on that once long ago.
The only way to describe the taste of this beer is like dirty hospital bandages.
Brian, that sounds off. What happened?
Gauze off of it got contaminated. It got
with what?
So if I knew, I would still be brewing beer. But I was like,
it's ruined you forever.
It literally ruined me forever. I took one sip out of it and I spit it out and immediately ran to the sink and vomited.
That bad?
It was that bad. The only other time that's ever happened to me is like when I did too many shots of tequila. Not that I ever did that. But if you had done that, that's what you imagine this would have been like. No, it was the same thing, because there was one time I was at a restaurant where had too many, and the same sort of thing happened to me. But those those experiences are now burned in my mind. So yeah, I used to brew a lot of beer up until then, and then I said, no, never again, never again.
Sorry, you can have some Jim's beer.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've had some.
That's true. You've had some.
He's made some good beer. Anyway.
But yes, you have to think through storage requirements, because sometimes you need a weird space. So here goes another thing. Let's say one day you are building a house, or one day you have bought a house that's not quite complete or something like that. And there's this weird, they're going to just close this corner off because, you couldn't possibly use it. You know what? If you happen to find yourself in that sort of situation where you can say, you know what, actually give me some sort of subtle access panel there, especially if you're going for a smaller house, you can, odd spaces and gaps in the walls can actually turn into decent storage that, believe it or not, might be able to store a few things. Yeah. I mean, and if you don't go around into your house now and say, oh my gosh, I can turn in random this and that and the other thing into random storage. No. But if you happen to be in a place where you can do that proactively, do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of worth it.
So let's talk about how to actually store it a little bit. What do we put it in?
Okay. I'm a big fan of use what you have first. Okay. First of all, I like to save, Apple stuff comes up, because Apple boxes are just this, the boxes that Apple products come in, they're sturdy. They don't have a lot of graphics on them. I think I've talked about this before in the organizing your bathroom one, because a lot of times, but there are other boxes, maybe something you got for Christmas, maybe something that gets delivered to your house or what. Every once in a while you come across something that, I know this sounds crazy and it's a bit against decluttering and stuff like that, but save the nice boxes. and use those first. Don't go off to the Container Store or to Target to buy the first like organizer things you can find. Try to figure out what you've already got that will work for your storage needs.
Yeah.
It's a time saver. It's a money saver. And then also you can find out, oh, okay, well, actually that's not how I was going to store that, or actually that is how I'm going to store that. But you know what? For that thing, it really would be helpful if I actually had the thing that stored this specific item. So that one, I'm going to go buy the thing. But don't waste your money or time with that first. Try out the stuff you already have.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I just did this year, I was revamping all of our Christmas ornament, the box that we have our Christmas ornament stuff in, and I was changing how we stored it. So I've used old antique. My grandmother had a lot of handkerchiefs, and so I have stacks and stacks of handkerchiefs when nobody uses handkerchiefs anymore. So I also have silver ornaments because that's what we've kind of gotten each other over the years, family and stuff like that. They're all now stored kind of file-like in the old handkerchiefs, right? Also taken things like egg cartons, paper egg cartons. So all the little tiny baubles that you've got, or the hangers, use egg cartons to, don't go get the fancy ornament stores. The little tiny glass balls work perfectly in an egg carton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
That's perfect. So, excuse me, I'm getting ready to talk now. Here's my like one. No, I am, as Daddy Pig would say, I'm a bit of an expert when it comes to garage storage.
Peppa Pig.
Yes. Peppa Pig. So I'm a bit of an expert now. And I have found, I think it's safe to say that for most people, you store stuff in your garage.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's not an unreasonable statement. My 2 tips, because you are going to get to the point. Yes. Like you said, start with things that you have first, like other boxes and stuff. But I'm going to just tell you.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this, and I'm going to concur.
Okay. Well, I don't know. But at some point, you're going to end up having to go buy some bins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Buy clear bins. Okay.
Yes.
If you buy like a green bin or any like a gray bin, like you don't know it yet, but you are making your life way, way more difficult
clear
than it
bins.
needs to be.
And if you want to color code them for holidays, clear bins. And then for Christmas, get the red and green lids.
Yeah.
For Easter, get the pink lids. For color code the lids, but you want to be able, because you think you're going to label it and stuff. You don't. You need to be able to see in that bin.
And honestly, like you can go in, it's like a catch-22, right? Because if you label it before, then you sort of feel like married to, I can only put these kinds of things in this bin.
Absolutely. And sometimes your stuff you need to reassess how, especially when we're talking seasonal decorations, you need to reassess how it goes into the boxes and how it comes out of the box. Keep going. Sorry, I'm interrupting because I'm excited.
Yeah. He's learned things here. so that clear bins. Number 1. Number 2, and again, this is a little bit of an investment, but I think it's worth it, is that you can get racks from, Sam's Club. You can get them from Amazon. But anyway, just like strong wired racks. So you can go vertical.
Yes.
Right? Go clear and go vertical. Those are like, when it comes to storing things in your garage that you don't need climate controlled.
Right.
These are the things that we, decorations, heirlooms. For me, like maybe it's Lauren's Barbies that she like at one day, like she has no hopes of selling them, but she likes to like give them to Hallie over a course of time. Right. So she gives them new ones or whatever. For me, like I have
light bulbs,
great example. I have tons of old baseball cards that I don't want, like, I don't plan on selling them, but they have sentimental value to me. Is like, I remember going to the store and going and buying them with my grandfather and like sifting through them. And then we would look up in like the Beckett card price indicator or whatever and say, oh, how much is this one worth? How much is this one worth? So like that stuff's not going anywhere, but it doesn't own a place in my house.
Right.
I also have tons and tons of classic old games or like obscure video games that like maybe were only released in Japan that I imported that I just like, that's just was a part of my, you're right. That's not going anywhere. I'm not going to be finding a buyer for like Dance Dance Revolution 1999 in Korean. Like it's not happening. However, like when I open it, it's kind of cool. So, all that to say, when you go vertical, you can see everything. And then you can you can even kind of subset it a little bit in the sense of, well, I don't pull these baseball cards down a lot.
Right. So they
can
go
really
way
up high. I might have, for example, like fertilizer, right? So fertilizer, I use often enough that I can be on the bottom, right? So you can kind of just go through your head as you're going through and you're looking at your garage or you're looking at your area for storage. Use what you have, get clear bins, go vertical.
By the way, I have another, not amendment, but an extra to use what you have. Yep. This is another reason why I say use what you have, because as you're figuring out your storage scheme, you've just moved into this house. You need to figure out how your storage scheme for your garage. You've got a few cabinets, but you're probably going to go get one of those wire adjustable, heavy wire shelves thing. Okay. While you're using some of the boxes that you had, then you can figure out what size bins, not only clear ones, but what size ones you're going to need, because I've finally had to do the first house that we had that I had some of these bins still left over from. Well, none of those bins will fit in any of the cabinets in my garage, either perpendicularly or parallel to the wall. So I had a few that were still left, if I tried to close the cabinet door that's kind of sticking out, or they just I had them in cattywampus because they wouldn't fit. So I had 3 more that I needed to replace, and I went ahead and did that this year. But if you use what you have, then you don't go off and get bins and then only to find out that actually you can't quite fit 3 on that shelf and you can only fit 2, but then you've got this big, huge gap. Like,
it's a heartbreaker.
Honestly, it is. When you're actually sitting there and you're trying to get your garage clean because you're really doing the full big organization. And now you've realized that your bins won't fit. Your 3 bins are just an inch too wide together, but the 2 bins then give you 1.5 feet of extra dead space. It's not crushing, but it's disappointing. It's very disappointing. I don't know. Ryan's like, I don't know. It's sometimes crushing.
Well, because what happens is when you're in that spot, because I've been there before, is now that one shelf isn't really just one bin. Like it's now 3 shelves and it's 3 bins because the shelves probably came in a stack of 3 or you bought a stack of so now it's not just like one thing. It's like, dude, this is like a whole row of storage that I just lost because I didn't have
because these mistakes will happen.
Yep.
They will happen. Make those mistakes before you buy a bunch of the storage stuff and then buy the proper storage stuff. Another thing for short people, and this was actually helped by the fact. So I don't know why I bought the bigger bins back. Our old house had the space that we could, the way the attic was set up, I could actually do it that way. And I thought, fewer bigger bins. Guess what? They're heavy and they're wider, and I'm only 5 foot. I've only got so much of a wingspan. Exactly. So now I'm having to get my husband, just because physics wise, he's the one that can get those things out of the attic, because with the stuff that I've put in it, I just can't quite get all the way around it and get it picked up. This is just a bit of smaller is sometimes better. I mean, because there's some big things that you have to store, and so you need the bigger bins for it. But sometimes it's easier to default on the smaller storage bins. Just kind of, you have that in your mind that you've got to move this.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can't actually reach around it at the store when you're buying it, then once it's full of stuff, good luck.
Moving boxes are certain sizes for a reason.
Exactly.
And so, not that you have to
That's
follow
why book boxes are so small, because you put books in them, they're heavy, and physics, just big, heavy, you can't do it without a dolly.
Yeah, but what you can do is you can say, all right, like I don't have to match these dimensions exactly. I'm going to match it what works for my space and my shelving and whatever. But you can say, all right, well, I'm not putting boxes. I don't have the list off the top of my head, but like appliances and stuff would go in like the small boxes, like a toaster or some whatever. And then you just work your yourself down the line. So if you ever have questions on what should go in what box, what size, just go to like uhaul.com, look at the large box. It's going to say right on there, this is what this is good for.
Exactly.
And then you can kind of plan that out
And
accordingly.
you'll notice it kind of goes by weight. So the large boxes will be for things like clothes or bed linens or towels. And as you get smaller, you get down to like hand mixers and books.
Yeah.
Right. And dishware, because dishware is surprisingly heavy when you stack, 8 plates and 8 salad plates. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, not a light box. So those are, when you're trying to think through your storage scheme, that's the kind of, you do need to kind of think through that too. Now, 1, 2, 3 motion storage still rules, but, so if it's a heavy thing that you only use once a year, I still want it maybe up high or somewhere 3+ motion storage. But remember, high and heavy is harder to move.
Yes.
Low and heavy is easier.
Yeah, high and heavy is like those baseball cards that I'm talking about, right? Like that's up there when I want to pull them out once every couple of years because I'm feeling nostalgic, right? And I want to go through and have a good cry or something like that. You know what I mean? This was such a good time in my life. But yeah, so specific depending on your situation. So I want to just address like one thing when it comes to the racks, because if I was listening to this podcast, like let's say I'm 25 years old. I'm listening to this podcast and I hear old Ryan go, dude, don't skimp on the racks. Young Ryan's like, bro, these things stack. You don't need a rack. And you would be wrong. You would be wrong because what happens is 3+ motion storage now turns into
10 motion storage.
10, 11, 12.
Because if I need that box on the bottom, I've got to move the 3 on the top. Oh, and then the 1 crossways that I put over it.
Yep.
And then if they're not clear, oh gosh, it's the wrong one. It's actually that one on the floor. So now I have to shift these over here. Ryan's right. You want the racks.
Get the rack. The rack's like, I mean, maybe I'll say between $50 and $80, depending on like how. And
they break down and they're easy to move. Like, we've carried our racks around with us to like multiple houses.
And if I'm saying it, it's worth it because your
Ryan
boy here
cheap.
Doesn't like to spend money. So if I'm saying it, it's worth it. The second thing is when you're doing you're visualizing your storage space is like visualize what now functional space that you're going to have as well. Like what things do you want to be doing? Like if it's in a garage or in an attic or you're doing your tool bench or whatever.
You probably want a little bit of a bench space, even if you're not a big tooly person. You'd be surprised. I mean, okay, so you're not a carpenter or a novice carpenter. Still, there's screws that need to be fixed. There's stuff that you're going to look up YouTube videos about how to fix a leaky faucet, stuff that you need to know. And then, oh gosh, you need a little space so that you can, put together this thing that your child broke and you're gluing it back together and you're using a vise to make sure the glue sticks. You need a little bit of workspace.
Pro tip for people that don't want to go out and buy like a $200 workbench or whatever, just go get yourself a beat up old used chest that you would store clothes in.
Yep.
That gives you more than enough space. Yep. It gives you more than enough space to do things. You can attach things to it. You don't have to worry about it get ruined. But it has drawers. Right? So you can put, for me, I have up in the top left, it's my drill bits and all that sort of stuff. On the right hand, it's like my screwdrivers, hand tools, all that sort of stuff. So like you have some function there. But anyway, but also when you have that space and you're designing it out and you're saying, okay, like I want to be able to park my car in the garage, whatever it might be. Maybe I want a place to work out, whatever. Like have that in mind because then you're going to know how you have to store. It might be that you might have to do one of two things. Either A, some of this stuff's got to go.
Yep.
It's got to go. The second thing is you might have to get an offsite storage.
Yes. All right. I'm going to have to own this one. Confession time.
Confession time.
2.
No.
We have 2.
No. My world's been shattered. Okay. can't. Okay. Hey, to each his own.
No. Okay. So before Jim and I got married, he was traveling quite a bit. And before I knew him, everything. And so he was at one point moved to Moscow, and there was a bunch of stuff that he put into storage. Actually, one of our first big arguments as a married couple was about cleaning out that storage. Sorry, babe, I'm going to have to do an I told you so. Anyway, the fight was, he was like, there's no reason we don't need to go clean it out right now. We have and we did. We had 2,000 other things to do. But I think I actually said, if we don't do it now, then 20 years from now, we'll still have it. I don't know if we know what's in it anymore. I don't know the last time we've been to it. So there's that one.
Okay.
There's that one. So when I say some of the next stuff that I'm going to
still in. So wait a minute.
We still have a storage facility.
Let me understand.
It's out past the Beltway. I don't even know where it is. I've never been to it. I know. And I'm not going to say much more about it because my poor husband's going to be like, I can't believe you called me out on the podcast.
Him and Lauren they can start a club. Jim and Lauren.
And I don't like, it's not a big one, and which is another thing, because it's not been, it's not like it's a crazy expense on the monthly bill. I think it's paid quarterly or something, but we're going to get into these things are auto paid. They're relatively cheap compared to budget. So yes, it is really easy to put the stuff in there and then kind of forget about it and just have it go, especially nowadays that when your credit cards roll over and change, like, so you lose your credit card or whatever, if it's an auto pay like that, the card number so you don't have to call each time, because early on, we had to remember, oh shoot, this card was stolen. So we know we need to go and call the storage facility, right? I don't have to worry about that. Like, it's been autopilot. So it's really easy to forget it exists, except when I'm doing a podcast on storage facility. Go, gosh, we've never cleaned that one out. So that's how not to. Now, the other storage facility we have is, there are a few times, let's go into this. There are a few times when you might end up with this kind of storage. The goal, of course, is not to have that kind of storage, but sometimes it is necessary. I've mentioned one of them, a move transition.
Absolutely.
Okay. So like our Jim was moving overseas. Okay. And so he doesn't want to sell all of his stuff and get rid of it. Better yet, at the time, he thought he was only going to be over there for 6 months or whatever. Okay. So you put your stuff in storage, or you were moving from your house and you were in Nashville. You're moving from Nashville. You've got a full house. You are moving into a new house in Houston, but you're doing some construction on it for a while. And so it's not ready yet. So you can't put all your furniture in it yet, but it's just you're not going to get rid of all your furniture for the sake of 3 months, when you're going to be living in temporary housing, right? So you have a storage facility. Okay. So you have those kind of temporary things. Then you have an excess of heirloom quality kind of stuff. Furnishings, rugs, art. Most likely you were from a wealthier or a large family. So for instance, I have some furniture in our storage facility. I have 4 children. 2 nephews, a niece. Like I'm not saving things like knickknacks and stuff, but we're talking about things like dishes, like really classic wing chairs or something, that the kids might come along and say, you know what, I'm going to recover that. And yes, so we can basically furnish their apartments. And then also there's things like their baby bed that my brother-in-law made, stuff like that wouldn't do so well. It needs climate control. So some of this stuff is the stuff that needs climate control that wouldn't do so well moving in and out and wouldn't be in an attic. Actually, we had Jim's grandmother's bed that got ruined in our last garage because during Harvey, the house didn't flood at all, but there was a little bit of water in the floor of the garage. Well, the bed of his grandma, it was leaning up against the wall in the garage. Well, of course, its wooden feet are now sitting in the water a little. So we soaked it right up, and then the laminate just came off and it just totally ruined it. So, we should have had that in the storage facility, but we hadn't quite made it to get it over there yet. So, we've got lots of rugs. So stuff like that is in our storage facility. But we access that one probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
So that's a little different, but these are sort of limited circumstances, the goal is not to have one. And I am saying that as somebody who has 2.
Right.
But the goal is
not to have one, but listen to what I say, not what I do.
A little bit of that going on. Yes.
I've never had one before.
Mm-hmm.
I typically in the past, before I was, and granted, Lauren and I, we've only done like one really big move from Oregon to here together as a couple. But before I was I was a single guy. I could throw myself in a van for crying out loud. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, let's go.
I have a girlfriend who moved a lot throughout our post-college years and stuff. And yeah, she got it down to a science where she was like 12 boxes and 2 suitcases.
And we're out.
Yeah, and she's out. Yeah.
I do like this next point that you have on there. You talk about parents' home, and it can even be more than just parents' homes. It could be like a really good friend or something like that. But this is like one of those things that you certainly don't want to like abuse. Like it should be your goal. Like if you're storing stuff at somebody's house, your intent should be, I got to get this thing out as quickly as possible. Now I know because like I've been on the receiving end of this a bunch of times where we've had different, family members move in with us, and they move in and it's like, for whatever reason, they didn't pack maybe the best way that they could have. And so you have a lot of excess junk that's sort of just laid out in the garage or something like that. Right. You can see that the garage is a very passionate place for me, right?
But no, because the garage, you deal with them all the time. You go in and out of your house often through the garage door. You see it every day. And garage storage is really, we're talking about 3+ motion storage, but when you need a light bulb, you need a light bulb and you want to be able to go right to it.
Yeah.
When you want to get your Christmas decorations out, you don't want to be hassling with trying to get them out of the storage place that you put them in, right? You want to get them up on, and then when you're ready to take the Christmas decorations down, you want them gone. Same thing for the camping trips. All of this stuff. The garage is 3+ motion storage, but it needs to work.
Yes. Yeah, because you're having to walk to go get it, right? Like, that's the big move. Like if you're in the kitchen and you have two motion storage, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna move this thing, I'm gonna move it over here, I'm gonna grab the thing, move it over here, and then I grab this and I'm good. Where like the garage, it's like you got to make the trek in.
Right.
And you don't want to open the door. And I have been this guy before. You open the door and you're like, I need to go get the Christmas decorations. You open the door and you open it up and you think, I don't even see the path to the Christmas decorations. I don't even see how I'm going to put one foot in front of the other to get to the point where I need to go because I have all of this
much
stuff.
Less when I get the first box of Christmas decorations, how I'm going to hold that box and negotiate my way back through the path of stuff that I've got in the garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not to get off on a tangent there, but it's important. And by the way, if you're coming through the garage all the time, do you want the first thing that you look at when you walk into your house that you pay for and you furnish and like you walk in, it's like your garage looks like trash?
Right.
Like, no, it should be an inviting place. It doesn't have to be like the most.
It doesn't have to be pretty, but it should be neat.
Be like, if you're like
organized.
I feel happy to live here. Walking into this garage makes me feel good.
You don't want the garage to make you feel like chaos. Yeah. And so then back to the point about keeping stuff for other people. It can honestly put a strain on things if the junk is not even yours. If the stack of boxes that are there blocking your entrance and blocking your ability to get to your 3 motion plus storage of your Christmas decoration is your kid who's moved out or your mother-in-law's stuff, that gets annoying real fast.
And if you're like me, you just end up throwing it out. Well, hey,
I totally get being in the right thing, but yes.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff. So if, let's say you're in between the move things, but you don't have you are in between the moves and you're just post-college. So you're kind of like Ryan back in his moving days, or my friend, you're kind of 12 boxes in and out. Okay. You've got a lamp here, you got some bedding stuff and everything else. Okay. And you're going to go on a 6 weeks trek or something like that because you're going to be between two jobs. And so you took some time off and you decided to use a little bit of the severance pay that you got or whatever. And so you're going to take a quick trip. So 6 weeks,
Severance pay. Did they get fired? Is there some reason?
I'm just coming up with.
Sure you are.
I'm just coming up with some sort of
scenario
yes. of why you might be in between houses for 6 weeks and not able to keep track
fired,
of your own.
You can't live here anymore. Pack up your stuff. You're going on a backpacking trip for 6 weeks. Here's your severance pay.
It's not what I meant. Anyway, you got your dozen or so boxes of stuff and you've asked either your parents or a really good friend to keep it for you because 6 weeks is odd for, because storage facilities are rented by the month. So really, you wouldn't want to rent one for the less than 2 months, really. Get your stuff out. Like, if they've said yes to 6 weeks, then you need to have the stuff out in 6 weeks. And if it's, oh my gosh, my house is almost ready, but they haven't painted it yet, can it be another week? Oh, probably. But we're done there. Like, you need to get it out at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Right. And also your parents' stuff, you've moved out, you're doing your own thing now. You've been out of college now for 2 years, living on your own, doing your own thing. And they've still got all of your stuff in the room. And okay, I can see how in those situations, maybe mom says, okay, you need to go home. You need to go through your stuff. You need to put some of it in actually put it in cedar chests, not boxes, or something more durable like that. And maybe mom agrees that she's going to keep it in the attic for a little while until you end up with a more, because you're in an apartment, you don't want to haul this stuff around every time you move apartments. Okay.
Right.
So for parents, it's a little different, but still you need to go clean out the stuff because otherwise somebody else is going to clean it out for you. Mom's going to decide, okay, you know what? You're not coming back home. I'm going to use this room for something else. And now somebody else is cleaning out your stuff and you might be upset about that.
Yes. Or you might leave a desk at your brother-in-law's garage for 2 years. And then your brother-in-law realizes that the leg is snapped and he just might throw it out. And then when you ask, where's the desk? And I go, well, you should ask me 2 years ago because now it's in the trash.
Right. Yeah. But which, by the way, at that point, then it's been like 4+ years that like, since you've noted, like, where's my desk?
Yeah.
Like you've left it in my garage for 4 years and you're just now noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. And it wasn't whole. So it's time to go.
It was broken.
Yeah.
But you can see how thinking ahead about this kind of stuff and maybe even having the discussion with your parents who might do some more long-term storage, but other friends who really 6 weeks is kind of asking a lot. An upfront conversation.
Yeah. It's very helpful.
Nice.
And also show appreciation.
Yes.
That's a key thing. So let's talk tactically. We need to get one now. What are the things that we're looking for?
Okay.
You have a lot of experience in this, right?
I do have a lot of experience in this. And I can honestly say probably the biggest reason we still have the other one is because it's much further out. Like it would take us 20 minutes to drive to it. That's why.
Right.
So it needs to be convenient for you to access and the location and the actual unit. So like when you go to rent an apartment and the apartment's near the pool or with the view or whatever are a little more expensive than the other ones. Okay. Storage facilities kind of have the same thing that the ones that are a little closer to the elevator or require fewer steps to get to tend to be a little more expensive. If you're going to be doing a long-term, like for the one that we have, like the furniture and stuff, we did that. So we have one that's a little bit easier to access. We bought one that was slightly larger than what we thought we needed specifically at the time because we knew what purpose we were buying it for. Like it was an intended long-term purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Otherwise, if you're really just, you're only going to get in and out of this once. You're buying it because you've got the move transition thing. So you're going to put it in once and then you're going to get the stuff out at the end of 3 months when your house is painted and ready for you to move in. Well, the fact that it's, buy the cheaper or rent the cheaper one because it'll be a little bit more hassle to get it in and out, but you're only going to do it once. So you don't really care that much.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the tip. Get it bigger than you need because one thing you don't really think about is
Volume.
And you got to like fit in there to actually get the stuff, right? So you don't want to be in that situation where it's like, well, the only way I can get to the thing in the back left-hand corner is if I pull everything out into the hallway. Right.
And then I have to put it back in pain in the Turkish.
If you have a little bit of extra room, a lot of times you can shift, you can shimmy, you can scooch, and you can get in there and get the stuff that you need.
Right. By the way, this same slightly larger than you think you need applies for if you're renting a U-Haul truck to do a move.
And if you haven't listened to the moving podcast, like that's essential listening as far as I'm concerned for moving. Because every single mistake that anyone has ever made moving is in that podcast.
Because Ryan and I have made a lot of them.
So
we were sharing our hard-won wisdom, not just, not our just, we're good guessers. No. We learned those the hard way. When you actually have the facility and now you're filling it up, fill it up with access in mind.
Yep.
So once again, you're going to need, because storage facilities are really designed to be, you're stacking the stuff in.
Yep.
You're packing it in. That's the idea. But you need to be able to get to the thing in the back corner without moving everything else out. Now you're not, because this is all like way 3+ motion storage. So remember, heavy on the bottom, lighter on the top. That's going to save you a lot in a storage facility.
Yes.
Goodness gracious. Sorry. I just lost my train of thought there. What else? Do you have any other ideas for for actually packing the storage facility?
Not really. I mean, you covered it. Heavy on the bottom to the top. Make sure that it's bigger than it needs to be. I think, not just location, but getting off the highway, I think is important. You just want ease of access. Accessibility.
Yes.
Right. Storage as far as, is it 24-hour? Do you have to go between these certain hours? Just knowing sort of that stuff so you can plan around it. I think that's important.
Is it a nice enough facility? Some of them do have dollies there. And stuff. Because you don't want to bring a dolly with you. Right.
Yeah. If you're going to rent this at a place that doesn't have a dolly, like you need a better place.
You need a better place.
Right. Is it climate controlled? Is it not climate controlled?
Yeah. Because sometimes it won't matter. I mean, sometimes you don't need the climate control, but for most applications, you probably do.
Yeah.
But
no, I think that's it. I think that's a fair amount of stuff to be talking about.
Okay. And then otherwise, unless like we talked about, you have a long-term plan for the storage facility. I'm getting it for this purpose. It's our Boy Scout troop has a storage facility where they store all of their camping gear. Right? Okay. It's a long-term purpose. They're going to keep that facility for quite some time, right? We have the furniture thing that because we're going to be keeping that for a while. If you don't have a long-term purpose like that, then have a plan for getting out of it. If it is a temporary thing, set your timeline for why it's temporary, or set an end date. Okay. I'm cleaning out of it when we move into the new house.
Yeah.
Or, this is just a temporary 6-month thing so that I have time to go through and sort through this stuff. Whatever it is, if it is not specifically a long-term purpose, then before you rent it, make your timeline plan to get out of it.
Yeah. My closing thought really is for parents thinking that their kids are going to want all of their old stuff. You can call it whatever you want, right? So, but the reality is you didn't want a lot of your parents' stuff. Your kids aren't going to want a lot of your stuff. So just figure out what the best thing to do with it, donating it to someone that could use it,
right.
But like they don't want your junk, man. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Absolutely. It's a problem right now. I've read about it multiple times and, various lifestyle kind of articles in newspapers that a lot of the decor stuff.
Yeah.
Like parents will save this stuff thinking, I'll give it to the kids don't want that.
No.
Right. Also, you're like, well, my kids will want this stuff than when they were a kid. To a certain extent, yes. I actually commissioned on Etsy a couple of years ago. I got big cedar chests, one for each of my kids. Okay. And I have filled up those cedar chests with clothes from when they were little, this art project, this Christmas decorate, this stuffed toy that I washed first, so fill up a cedar chest.
Yeah. And that's good.
Absolutely. Your kids do want some of their stuff. When they go off and have kids, they're going to want some of that stuff that was, oh my gosh, I remember playing with this little car, whatever. Have some of it. Absolutely. Maybe even the play kitchen, if it's still in good condition, you might keep one large thing or something like that. There's it was a little kiddie picnic table that I had when I was little. And now all of my children and my niece and nephew have used it. My mother saved it. And it was kind of a pain to save because, it was a little kiddie table.
Practical application with that.
Exactly. But that's like one, save one big thing like that. Give each of your kids a cedar chest worth of stuff that here's mementos from your childhood. That's fun. Do not save everything.
No.
It's
too much.
It's too much.
And it puts strain on relationship when it doesn't need to be there because then like parents, their feelings get hurt. Kids feel guilty. It's like, you know what? Just know. Just know it's just junk, most of it. Just let it go. I didn't mean that to sound harsh, but that's just the reality of it. So.
Right. And then when we actually get to things like, oh, I'm going to save this lamp because they might like that. I mean, unless you're buying, heirloom.
Yeah.
The lamp that you thought was way cool in the 80s. You send it to the thrift shop when it is time to go. Don't save it under the impression that, like I said, what we're saving in our storage facility is like classic line furniture, like camelback sofa that can be reupholstered at some point for cheaper than you can buy an actual sofa,
That makes sense.
Okay. And even, fine rugs, that sort of thing. Not decor, not knickknacks.
Yeah.
Definitely not
here's
knickknacks.
a mirror that I had, that your father used to get ready in every single day. Like, cool, thanks for the mirror. Like, but honestly, it's going in the garage, right? Like, I mean, like, that's just a transfer of stuff for stuff's sake. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up there.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Nothing else left?
I don't think so.
Cool. If you're watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and slap that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Want to hear what you guys have to say. Storage woes that you have. Do you have 2 storages, 3 storages, 4 storages? Who has the most storages? I bet it's this one right over here.
It might be
I'm pointing
me.
over there. If you're listening to us via podcast, we're available anywhere podcasts are available.